Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this public hearing for April 21st, 2014 to order to convene the board as a budget committee. Thank you all for being here. The board has set aside 1 hour this evening to hear your comments on the superintendent's proposed budget for 2014-15 budget. Public feedback is very important to us. The board, acting as the budget committee, will take everything into consideration before approving a budget. With that, I'll read the testimony instructions, and then Ms. Houston, if you'd call the first two speakers to the testimony table. So thank you very much for taking the time to come to our board meeting. We deeply value public input, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and reflections and concerns. Our responsibility as a board lies in actively listening and reflecting on the thoughts and opinions of others. Guidelines for public input emphasize respect and consideration when referring to board members, staff, and other presenters. The board will not respond to any comments or questions at this time, but the board or staff will follow up on various issues that are raised. Please make sure that you have left your contact information with Ms. Houston or on the sign-up sheet. Pursuant to our board policy 1.70.012, speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. Any complaints about specific employees should be directed to the superintendent's office and will not be heard in this forum. And a copy of that policy is taped now to the speaker's table.
Our first two speakers, Michelle Arntz and Maria Silva.
My name is Michelle Arntz, A-R-N-T-Z. I have two children at Rigler, our neighborhood school in Northeast Portland, where 90% of our students are historically underserved. Since 2007, the number of students per FTE at Rigler has increased 20%. In the last 2 years, Rigler students have also lost 9 instructional days from their school calendar for mandated professional development. Our PTA has advocated at every level of your administration to ask how exactly these choices benefit our students. We have mostly felt that central staff are uninterested in or unprepared for genuine answers to our questions. I have also sought advice from the Parents Coalition and learned that reclaiming lost instructional resources takes intellectual capital, teamwork, and the tenacity to enforce a state mandate. Your proposed budget does not restore any staffing at Rigler and forces our principal to choose between funding academics or social and emotional supports. Given Rigler's significant progress with behavior and discipline, we feel that this choice is unconscionable and counterproductive. Improving our student outcomes will require you to fund classrooms as well as their support systems. Your proposed budget adds 2 paid days for required professional development, which is a step in the right direction, but clearly not enough. Last year alone, mandated professional development cost Rigler students 10 instructional days on average, 5 with substitutes, and 5 with canceled school days. Why must students at academic priority schools who need the instructional hours the most sacrifice these hours for extra professional development? Our students need each and every school day, and they need highly qualified and well-trained teachers. Choosing between the two will never close the achievement gap and prepare them for middle school, high school, and beyond. How can a system disinvested in its foundation succeed? I am urging you to increase ratio FTE allocations and proportionally reinvest in elementary grades. How can students at your lowest performing schools raise achievement given less time? I also request that before the budget vote, you find solutions that ensure compliance with state mandated hours, specifically for our 4th and 5th graders, without pursuing a waiver from the state for next year. Ultimately, this budget does not reinvest in the staff or the time needed to implement your racial educational equity policy. Rigler students will need both of these resources to meet your policy goals. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. No, we're not at, Steve, we're not doing questions right now.
Well,
Thank you.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
Okay. All those, okay. Chair's ruled that we are not receiving, or the board is not commenting pursuant to our policies. All those who
We haven't
with that?
received a second. We're going to go according
You're
to
doing it
Robert's
according to
Rules
the-
of Order.
Right.
Right, and then,
you don't need it for that.
well, yes, you do for an appeal. if you look on section 24, it outlines it here. Maybe we could have our person who's in charge is Jolly here. Patterson,
know.
go over and give us a
Any
thing.
member can appeal without a second. You can appeal. I have it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we have to vote on it.
Right,
That's what we're gonna
that's
do.
what we're doing right now.
We're going to vote now?
Yep, right now.
And, okay, and I get to
All
speak to
those in
that?
favor
I get
of
to
the
speak
appeal?
to
No,
that?
we don't, there's
Well,
no
what-
discussion
no,
on it.
There is discussion.
I did look at these this weekend, Steve, so
Appeal?
thank you.
There is discussion on, I believe.
So all those in favor?
What, I don't even know what we're voting on.
So I've ruled that according to our policies, we do not engage in question and answer with our speakers during this part of the board meeting, budget meeting.
Budget hearing.
Steve has raised point of order.
I'm raising a point of order of you giving him an explanation now. Because if we can't speak to it, you're speaking to the motion.
I'm
If we can't speak to it,
explaining what the motion is,
It's his job
Steve.
to find out.
I'm explaining what the motion is, so that we can move forward.
The motion is, there wasn't a motion.
It's a
to
point
then
of
take a
order.
second.
It's a
It's
point
not a
of
point of
order.
order, it's an appeal. It's different. I'm sorry to do this, but we have such a mess going on here after last week that I just don't
Steve,
see any other
no,
way to
we're
go
not,
around
we're
it.
not gonna go forward like that, thank you. Okay, so we have an appeal of my ruling. All those in favor of the appeal of my ruling, please say aye.
I'm appealing the fact that you're not allowing
Thank you.
discussion.
Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Thank you.
How
You
many-
may go
How many
forward.
votes did you have?
3.
Three can pass it here, 5?
You have to have,
Or do you have to
you
have
have to have,
four?
you have to have 4 to pass it.
How many did you have?
You had 2.
And you had?
3.
So it's lost.
You lost.
Yeah, but I
Okay, we're
still
gonna
didn't
move
get to
forward.
talk to the motion.
Excuse me.
Yeah, can we move on to the rest of the hearing?
Would you like to go ahead? Thank you.
Dígale que,
¿Su nombre, señora? Primero.
dígale que esta es la primera vez que yo estoy aquí
This is the first time I'm here, first time.
y dígale que me disculpe por la pronunciación de mi carta que voy a leer.
Hable directamente con ellas. Please forgive me for my pronunciation as I read this letter.
Pero dígale que yo le voy a dar a ellos la carta cuando termine.
I will give you the letter when I am finished.
Y dígale que me ayudó mi equipo de Rigler a escribir esta carta.
My team from Wrigler helped me write this letter.
Yo les di mi información
I gave them my information
y ellos me ayudaron a escribirlo.
and they helped me write it.
Pero dígale que yo añadí algo extra que es la palabra de racismo.
I have added an extra word and that word is racism
Y ellos no lo saben.
and they don't know that.
Pero que no lo tomen personal,
Please don't take it personally.
porque es desde un punto de vista, de una perspectiva de presupuesto.
It is from the perspective and the point of view of budget.
My name is Dama. I am a single parent of 2 children, Maya and my son Meshi, means Mexico. My son has special needs and attends Head Start program, and my daughter attends at Rigler Elementary School as a kindergartner. I work full-time, and I'm also a volunteer son teacher with kindergartners and students. I teach them Spanish and I teach them music. I used to be middle class, but after separating from my husband last year, I now know what it's like to experience poverty. 86% of the families at Rigler qualify for free and reduced meals. My daughter told me the other day that she could not go into her friend's bedroom, who they live in the trailer homes on Kellensworth and Cooley Street. And I asked the mom why, and she told me because the whole family sleeps there. The added stress of poverty manifests itself in the classroom, in the halls, and in the playgrounds of Rigler. That's why the restorative justice program has been so vital to have at Rigler. I have seen firsthand the power of this program when we deal with recent conflict between kids of color. A restorative justice specialist was able to intervene and help them come to a resolution. With the budget Rigler has been given for the fall, we will lose our student management specialist, our Black community liaison, and our restorative justice coordinator. The people in these positions are more than simply mediators. They are strong role models and help students believe in themselves and become empowered to resolve their own problems. When children lack positive role models at home, they have been able to learn the coping skills they need at the school from these role models. They listen to our students when teachers can't and when teachers don't. To finish, I just wanted to say that these positions have worked together over the last year to create an atmosphere of greater cultural understanding and appreciation of each other's unique differences. The budget proposed for this coming fall will undermine the great work that we all have been doing and all the work that's been done at Rigler, and threatens to further divide us. This is racism. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Our next two speakers, Nathan Means and Rebecca Navarrete.
Thanks to the board and the superintendent for this opportunity to speak with you. And thanks for your work and service of the school district. My name is Nathan Means. I have a third grader at Rigler Elementary School in Northeast Portland. A few weeks ago, I took my son and his best friend, who's a second grader at Abernathy in Southeast Portland, to Rigler's playground to run around. When they got to the play structures, the friend looked around and said, "You guys don't have any good stuff to play on." And my son replied, "Well, our school is poor." At 7 or 8, my son, and probably every other Rigler student, has learned a very simple lesson about inequality. If you have less money, you don't just live in a crowded apartment. You get fewer public resources. Our neighborhood doesn't have a local library or park or sidewalks on busy roads shared by cars and pedestrians. But I believe the most damaging single element of this inequality is what kids find or don't find at their local school. For kids at poorer schools, like Rigler, which is 85% free or reduced lunch, there's a long list of resources that kids at wealthier schools enjoy that aren't available to them. For example, well-funded computer labs, well-stocked libraries, and the newest playground equipment. But if budgets have tightened, this inequality has been laid much more raw. Every school has lost something, but wealthier schools have not experienced the same loss. For example, Rigler has lost considerably more FTEs, as was mentioned before, per student than Alameda, our neighboring and wealthier school, since 2007. This is in large part because of the ability of these schools, PTAs, and foundations to raise tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. This money doesn't just go to iPads, but the most fundamental learning resource, teachers. Our fundraising capacities in comparison are extremely limited. We can't have silent auctions. We are, however, selling decals here tonight for $5. We need to sell about 20,000 to keep our SMS, so please consider buying 2 or 3. Here's what I request. Some elements of PPS's equity policy are being implemented. For example, Rigler receives some money in that end, but not enough to match the donations by wealthier schools' foundations to their own school's budget. I would like to see PPS pursue these equity aims more aggressively. I graduated from a wealthy high school myself in Montgomery County, a school system that has become a model for reallocating resources to promote equity. That school system has a huge advantage of being in a wealthy, politically liberal county where citizen buy-in was relatively easy. But that doesn't mean it's not a model to consider here in Portland. Whenever PPS pursues more robust policies of equity, you will have our full support and fervent advocacy. I would also urge the board to reconsider the impact that foundation money and transfer policies have on budgets. and school performance. Both tend to encourage a conglomerating of the wealthy and/or successful students and the further impoverishing of poor neighborhood schools. In the specific case of Rigler, I would also like to see actual reinvestment in our school this year. We would like to be able to keep, for example, our student management specialist or restorative justice specialist without losing classroom teachers. We have a great principal and teaching staff, but without these kinds of basic positions filled, too many of our students will be underserved, and inequity will remain a pernicious everyday reality. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. My name is Rebecca Navarrete, Navarrette. I have a child as well at Rigler Elementary. For many reasons, we're here tonight speaking, and I was told we're losing 3 staff positions at our school this upcoming year. When questioned, well, who's leaving? The response was, it's not who, it's the positions that we're not going to be able to fund. If we say who, it's personal. My response was, this is very personal. You need to understand, as spoken earlier and will speak later, we're losing 3 positions next year for various reasons of funding. They're not any positions. They're positions that provide so much for our kids. Not just my son, but every student there on campus. We're losing 3 male role models on campus. An underserved school, underserved students that struggle just to survive on a daily basis. My son, every day, everywhere we go, he asks me, first question, Mom, is there any other Africans here in this room? He looks around every time. That's the first thing he looks for. When he goes to Rigler next year, there will not be 1 staff member of color. How dare this happen? I pray every night that you guys make the right choice to not allow this happen. We have, through Portland Public Schools, racial educational equity policy. Please go home and read that. See what it says. Regardless of where money needs to be allocated equally, when we fall behind under racial equity, the monies can be appropriated differently. All our kids look forward to these wonderful males. They look up to them. They give them lots of love and praise every day. They don't have male role models in their life, a lot of our students, that are there consistently. These positions, I don't know their exact job descriptions. However, I do know they teach our kids discipline. They teach them how to make the right choices every day. When they do something wrong, they show them how to do it right. And when they're gone, when these 3 wonderful, amazing males are going to be gone from our campus, who's going to be there for our students? Who's going to be there to lift them up? We had 7.3% students were suspended last year at an elementary school. 7.3. We have 13% African American students, plus an additional 32 that are multiple race. I urge you to stop, consider, and think about the decisions that you're making that will affect our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have
Nope.
Sybil Kelly and Charlotte Kelly.
Hola, mi nombre es Charlotte Kelly y yo soy un tercer grado en la escuela de Rigler. Hi, my name is Charlotte Kelly and I'm a 3rd grader at Rigler School. Yo quiero decir porque yo creo que es tan importante para mí y mi comunidad para mantener al señor Tobin y al señor Cohen en mi escuela. I want to tell you why I think it's so important to me and my community to keep Mr. Tobin and Mr. Cohen at my school. Han sido una gran ayuda para que todos nos sentimos seguros. They have been very helpful so we all feel safe. Había un chico en mi clase que se había ido la mayor parte del año. Cuando regresó, él y otro chico no se llevan bien y empezó a acojarse al muchacho. Realmente sorprendió a todos y que nos puso nerviosas en clase. Desde que el señor Tobin ha estado ayudando a ellos, ha sido mucho mejor. Ahora son amigos. There was a boy in my class who was gone for most of the year. When he got back, he and another boy weren't getting along. He started to choke the boy. It really startled everyone and made us nervous in class. Ever since, Mr. Tobin has been helping them. It's been much better. And now they're friends. El señor Tobin, el señor Cohen, el señor Fernando y nuestro consejero y un montón de otros adultos ayuda a mi comunidad y la escuela. Es por eso que no quiero prepuestos para llevárselos. Mr. Tobin, Mr. Cohen, Mr. Fernando, our counselor, and lots of other adults help my community at school. That's why I don't want budgets to take them away. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that in Spanish with us. Very good.
There's a lot of great stuff
good.
going on at Rigler,
There is.
including the immersion program. Hello, my name is Sybil Kelly, K-E-L-L-E-Y, and I'm Assistant Professor of Science Education and Sustainable Systems at Portland State University in the Graduate School of Education. And though I can never completely shed any of my identities, tonight I'm here as a Rigler parent. And I want to acknowledge that all of you have a really hard job, and it's mostly a thankless job, so thank you. Thank you for your service to the community and our schools, and we need you to do more. We need you to put into action the words that you all supported in the equity plan, specifically the words reading, "The responsibility for the disparities among our young people rests with adults, not the children." Rather than perpetuating disparities, Portland Public Schools must address and overcome inequity and institutional racism. To achieve educational equity, PPS will provide additional and differentiated resources to support the success of all students. And these are excerpts directly from the first page of the equity plan. For most of you, this isn't the first time you've heard me advocate for Rigler School. The last time I was deeply engaged in advocating for equity and justice, it was when Rigler was literally bursting at the seams due to overcrowding. I'm not going to spend my precious 3 minutes tonight reminding you of the blatant inequities we brought to light 3 to 5 years ago, but what is worth saying is that through that process, we chose a data-driven, rational, collaborative approach rather than a litigious one. I've had a long history in the Northeast community, and I've witnessed firsthand how our schools are facing the complex societal and historical factors excuse me, that contribute to our inequities our students face, which is also in the equity plan. When we joined the Rigler School community as a family in 2007, it was Christy Lindholm's first year. Since that time, the culture and climate at Rigler has improved 1,000-fold. Student achievement has improved. The ratio of referrals of African American students compared to white students has dropped from 6-to-1 to 1-to-1 at times to 1-to-2. And for Latinos, that's actually reversed. So from 4-to-1 Latino to white students is now 1-to-2. We have an amazingly strong, interconnected group, as you've seen tonight, of students, teachers, staffs, and families that are committed to building a strong, multicultural community where everyone is valued for the assets they bring. I want to bring this to your attention because even in these past years of continually declining resources, Christy and her amazing staff have transformed the culture and climate of Rigler. Nonetheless, there is so much more work that needs to be done, and morale is often very hard to rally because it feels that everyone is working extremely hard all the time, yet the system that your equity plan is supposedly addressing continues to create barriers and push us in the opposite direction. As Charlotte shared firsthand, our restorative justice specialist, Black and Latino community agents, student management special, and all the other teachers and support staff help students from very diverse backgrounds learn to understand and embrace their differences, to develop problem-solving skills, and generally create a safe and supportive environment. As you know, an overwhelming majority of Rigler students are students of color and come from low-income households. Research shows that stress from poverty has similar neurological and physiological impacts as trauma. It's time that those of us with power and privilege stand up for what is true, for what is right, and truly differentiate resources to ensure all students have the support they need to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tom Kane and Laura Moulton.
First of all, I'd like to thank Director Steve Buell for coming by our school, and Carol for talking with Jerry Eaton and I about the long-term vision of alternative ed in the district. My name's Tom Kane, K-A-N-E. We do need a long-term vision for alternative ed, but I'm also concerned that we are cutting our own throats in the short run. And last year, you may recall, I was a little bit upset when I came and talked about the 20% cuts we were getting. I've just gone through the most difficult year of my teaching career. And ironically, I came on the same night that you were celebrating the Grant Constitutional team, which had more volunteers than we were left with staff. We're asking to be restored to our previous level. We need to build up CTE programs, and as we restore CTE programs, particularly such as a culinary program or alternative energy program, we can use that to leverage money from the state, because as we develop new programs, we can apply for grants from the Department of Labor. So I think we can leverage actually additional dollars. And I'd like to say that also during the accreditation process that we went through recently, we were dinged pretty hard for lack of support from the district on CTE programs. We've become antiquated from years and years of cuts, reductions in staff, reductions to programs. And finally, we've had a very bad economy, and as was referred to earlier, we are deluge with mental health issues. I'm really glad to see counselors being restored all over in some of the middle schools and elementary schools. That's a really important thing, but we need extra mental health services. We're dealing with a traumatized population, an older population that brings a lot of historic issues to the table. And then one more thing, I'd like to express concern that the behavior programs are being cut in the larger high schools, and I'm concerned that those students are going to wander their way to our building where we have even fewer services available to kids that are really dealing with complex behavior and mental and emotional needs. And then they're coming to us because we're smaller and friendlier and nicer, but we just don't have the services and support to help them out. So I'd just like to see our programs restored. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
My name is Laura Moulton. It's Moulton. I teach writing at Lewis and Clark and Merrillhurst in Portland and at the Alternative High School program at Meek in Northeast Portland. In fact, I'm in Tom Kane's classroom, so it's odd that you sat us together. I have 2 children at Rigler, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you tonight with my concerns. In June 2011, the school board unanimously approved the Racial Educational Equity Plan and called for, among other things, to shift our practices to see students as individuals. This sounded great to us at Rigler, where students are Hispanic, African American, Asian, Native American, and white, with up to 12 different language groups represented. Having a plan for equitable education, which considered each student's own particular cultural context and background, was vital. For the past 3 years, our school has worked to create an environment in which kids can thrive regardless of their home lives, of their socioeconomic status, or of the color of their skin. Tobin Krell with Northwest Resolutions helped implement a restorative justice program designed to keep students in our school community rather than suspending them or expelling them for bad behavior. Our African American community agent, Ivory Nichols, has worked together with Tobin to build relationships with kids who need this support. And our student management specialist, Jeremy Cohen, has worked with both of them to develop plans with students, check in with them daily, and provide them with the outlet and resources they need. This fall, the proposed budget eliminates those positions. Our student management specialist and our African American community agent will be gone, and the restorative justice program will end. The equity plan calls for us to see students as individuals, and I think it might be instructive to look at schools as individual entities as well, to consider the particular needs of each one. Our families deal with immigration issues, unmet mental health issues, and are often refugees from gentrification or from their home countries. Not all of our kids are equipped with everything they need to be prepared to learn. As Nathan mentioned in his testimony, Rigler has no foundation, no ability to hold a quick fundraiser to save teacher positions. The $2,000 to $3,000 we hope to raise at this year's spring carnival could be the cost of a school picnic at some of our neighboring schools. Our SMS, Mr. Cohen, whose job will be gone in the fall, has a photo on his desk that shows him with a student, both of them wearing neckties, both of them grinning broadly. This is a student who was suspended 6 different times during his kindergarten year, which was last year. The same student this year as a first grader working with Mr. Cohen has been suspended 0 times. Last year he was known for running from the class and having explosive outbursts in the hallway. This year he checks in twice a day and knows that Mr. Cohen's room is the place to go if he feels close to anger. It's also the place he picks up the necktie Mr. Cohen bought him when he feels like dressing up a little. Administration, parents, teachers at Rigler said yes to your equity plan, and we built a community together to help support those aims. Now a vital part of that team will be gone in the fall, and it will be impossible for us to continue as we have been. I ask you please to take a closer look at the needs of Rigler Elementary and provide the funding we need to be successful. Thank you so much.
Our next 2 speakers, Nicole Eros-Elardo and Monique McLean.
Hello, my name is Nicole Eros-Elardo, I-R-O-Z-E-L-A-R-D-O, and I'm a parent of a student at Scott K-8, which neighbors Rigler, and I'm tempted to throw this out today and just say how much we admire what they are doing and how similar our problems are and how much we want the FTE to start a restorative justice program. But instead of doing that, I'm going to go on my script and tell you that I want to point out that there's a particularly grievous incident where PPS is not reinvesting resources to overcome equity issues, and that is in counseling staff. Scott is a Title I school with over 84% qualifying for free and reduced lunch, 82% are non-white, and 41% are English language learners, and that includes significant Latino, Somali, and Vietnamese populations. Scott is also designated as a focus school. Focus and priority schools, as we all know, are high poverty schools that are struggling to meet the achievement levels of other similar high poverty schools. Oftentimes, this is because a greater proportion of these children have social and emotional needs that must be met in order to support learning in the classroom. In light of this, I was appalled and incredibly disappointed to see that only a half-time counselor has been allotted to support Scott's 497 students in this coming FTE budget. This is in line with the school district's policy of assigning a full-time counselor at 500 students. I'll do the math, we're 3 short. Scott is also at building capacity, meaning that the school isn't necessarily under-enrolled, even if the likelihood of ever sustaining 500 students is quite small. The situation is incredibly inequitable and makes a mockery of PPS's commitment to address equity. At a school like Scott, the crisis in kids' lives do not neatly schedule themselves around a half-time counselor. A parent losing their job or a sibling arrested does not wait for a counselor to come back for tomorrow. A kid who doesn't have a full fridge at home or is walking home without a coat cannot wait tomorrow to have the counselor show up. The challenges of assimilating into life in the U.S. with many different languages and customs and diversity, which we love at our school, again, does not just only occur on the days in which the counselor is in the school. These children need trusted adults that they can count on being there every single day, and counselors are an important part of that support system. Limiting the counselor to a half-time allotment perpetuates racial and economic inequities by failing to support the social and emotional needs of students that need the support most. The situation at Scott is particularly frustrating because we're only 3 students short, but other focus and priority schools like Lee with 470, Cesar Chavez with 487, and Rigler with 441 have large schools and need that full-time counselor. Focus and priority schools need that no matter what the size, and the reinvestment should prioritize those populations who need it most. Please provide Scott the FTE to support a full-time counselor in this budget cycle, and I urge you as a board to prioritize focus and priority schools in this year of reinvestment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Monique McLean, MCCLEAN, and I'm here on behalf of the Parents Coalition A citywide group of parents galvanized last year around ending the practice of mandated part-time high school and restoring instructional minimums. As you consider the proposed budget, we ask that you take these questions into account. Does this budget inform an educational vision, and if so, what is it? Does this budget serve every student in all levels and from every demographic? Does this budget support PPS's compliance, both the letter and the spirit, with the state's minimum instructional hours? Last week, the Parents Coalition requested data and information from PPS around forecasting and staffing by May 1st so that we can evaluate how this budget aligns with providing high school students with a full school day and restore PPS compliance with instructional hour standards. We hope that PPS has also reviewed their instructional hours compliance at all schools. We would be disappointed if there were efforts to pit high schools against elementary or middle schools, as this isn't a zero-sum game. The Parents Coalition has been following the forecasting process carefully. We're pleased that the 3 proposed schedules for high schools appear to be in compliance with the state law on the number 130 of instructional hours per course, as that deficiency has exacerbated the challenges PPS high schoolers have faced over the past 3 years. These are promising developments. We remain concerned, however, that these changes are tenuous at best, positioned as vulnerable to other pressures. Given the level of funding PPS has, significantly more than other districts, and all the investments that it's making, we encourage PPS to achieve minimum instructional hours at elementary, middle, K-8s, and high schools, and to stretch for more. Access to public education should be a given, never a luxury. This holds true for all grade levels and all demographics. Let's adopt a budget that infuses an educational vision into every line item and produces outcomes worthy of our great city. Thank you all for your dedication to increasing the value of a diploma from PPS and for your service to our city and its students. Thanks.
And our last speaker is Diana Wu.
Good evening. Is this on? Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Great.
it's on.
Good evening. My name is Diana Pei Wu, W-U, and I'm the Director of Organizing for the Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon. And I'm here on behalf of both APANO and the Educational Justice Committee of the Coalition of Communities of Color, on which we sit. I'm also here on behalf of our Educational Equity Committee and our Vietnamese and Chinese parents who are members of APANO. We wanted to thank the Portland Public School Board as well as the staff for the fabulous implementation of the Vietnamese dual language immersion program, as well as the expansion of the Mandarin dual language immersion program, and the plans for the creation of another Chinese dual language immersion program, which will serve both Cantonese and Mandarin speaking parents, especially English language learners in Portland Public Schools in the very near future. We're also super excited for the willingness to try something new and also for funding that, right? The incredible collaboration between Portland Public School staff in the dual language immersion program and the community-based organizations, including APANO, but not limited to us, but also the other sort of community-specific organizations that exist in Portland. There are dozens of them, and APANO's statewide list has over 80 to 90 community-specific, non-funded community organizations representing Asian and Pacific Islander communities. And also, I don't know if you all know that model for collaboration, we're exploring being able to share that nationally with other public school administrations. And so, funding that collaboration hopefully will result in new models for community and district collaboration. And finally, we wanted to thank you for your commitment to implementing equitable solutions for some of the most vulnerable members of Portland's communities, including English language learning students and their families. And also the Coalition of Communities of Color wants to thank you for your support in developing those collaborations towards equity in our school district. Thank you very much.
thank you to everyone who testified tonight and all of those of you who came to listen to the testimony. We're going to adjourn this public hearing. We have about 15 minutes, so we're happy to mingle among you and talk about any other issues that you might have. Thank you.